Welcome to Healing, Hope, and Health. I'm Bernadette Wagner, Community Outreach Coordinator for Hospice of Washington County, and it's my privilege to host this program. I count myself fortunate to be able to spend time with you and share information about Hospice of Washington County's mission and services. Usually on this program, I interview experts on hospice care, but today I'd like to try something just a little bit different. I'd like to get an idea of how well we are informing the public about hospice care by asking our viewers to test their knowledge. Just think of this segment as a pop quiz of sorts. You remember the kind you hated in junior high? Don't worry, no grades will be given today. Here's what I'd like to do. 10 true-false questions will appear on the screen. I'll read each question and you jot down your answer. After a brief pause, I'll give the correct answer and a quick explanation. If you'd be kind enough to send in an email with your score or your thoughts on today's quiz to info@hospiceofwc.org, you will be eligible to win a prize. All entries must be received by May 21st. All right, let's get started. Number 1, hospice is only for cancer patients or the very old. False. Currently, only 20% of our patients have cancer diagnosis, and we treat patients of all ages with any disease if they have a life expectancy of 6 months or less. Hospice of Washington County is currently treating patients with heart, liver, lung, and kidney disease, patients who have suffered stroke, have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or AIDS, and many other diseases. Okay, number 2, hospice is only for patients who are living at home. The answer to that question is false. Hospice provides care to patients wherever they call home. That could be a residence, an assisted living or nursing facility, or even the hospital. Number 3, hospice is affordable to the average person. True. Hospice services are paid in full by Medicare Part A and Medicaid and by most private insurances. It covers medication for patients to keep them comfortable, medical equipment, and medical supplies. And also, patients without insurance are asked to pay what they can afford, but the difference is covered by generous donations to Hospice of Washington County. Number 4, hospice gives medication that causes patients death. This is false. All medication decisions focus on keeping the patient as pain-free as possible while keeping them alert to accomplish their goals and to interact with their loved ones. Number 5, hospice patients can continue to be cared for by their own physician. The answer to this is true. A patient's physician becomes part of the hospice care team and remains the primary physician. The patient's physician works with the hospice medical director, the nurse who is managing the patient, and the rest of the team to develop the best care plan. Number 6, hospice is a team of volunteers who help the patient. False. Actually, hospice staff consists of highly trained professionals, including registered nurses, certified nursing assistants, social workers, chaplains, and grief counselors. They work together with the patient and family under the direction of a physician and a nurse practitioner. Volunteers do play a critical role at Hospice of Washington County, and we couldn't fulfill our mission without them. They provide assistance to patients and do administrative work and volunteer at the life centers. Number 7, hospice forces patients to sign away all rights to property and also all rights to decision-making about their care and treatment. This is false. Hospice of Washington County has no claim to any property rights, but it will work with uninsured families to find a way to pay for services. If no funds are available, services are still delivered. Care and treatment plans are developed jointly by the patient and/or the family member and the case manager. They are always consulted on all treatment decisions. Number 8, hospice care gives patients and family members hope. True. Hospice care gives hope for life as pain-free as possible and the chance to fulfill desired plans. They have hope for quality of interactions with friends and loved ones. they can have hope that they can remain at home with loved ones rather than going to a hospital or nursing home. The hospice team works to help patients accomplish their tasks, fulfill their wishes, and maintain hope at all times. Choosing hospice care in no way means a patient is giving up hope. If a new treatment is suggested, a patient can leave hospice to seek that treatment. Number 9, hospice is only for patients who are very close to death or actively dying. False. The patient and families who benefit most from hospice are those who turn to hospice at the first knowledge that the attempts for a cure are failing. The medical team of hospice performs best when managing the gradual decline for the comfort of the patient. Early management of the disease allows most interaction with the patient's care plan and allows the family to have the greatest knowledge of what to expect. And our last question, number 10, Hospice of Washington County has been providing compassionate care for 35 years. True. Hospice is truly grateful to all of those who have trusted us to care for their loved ones. In fact, we would like to invite the public to join us for a day of celebration. It's called A Day in the Park on Saturday, June 20th, to celebrate our 35th anniversary and to allow us to thank you for the privilege of caring for your loved ones. We will have food, games, moonbounds, Duncan booth, and live music. I hope you'll put it on your calendar. We hope to see you there. We'll be right back after these messages.
I'm the hometown favorite.
I'll outsmart you.
I will beat you.
I'll be surrounded by fans cheering me on.
There's no place like home for fighting cancer.
My turf.
My time.
My team.
Expert care, close to home. The John R. Marsh Cancer Center at Meritus Health.
We are rolling.
All right, Mama's gonna bring home. Mama's gonna bring home. No.
Challenge your kids to be active and eat healthy.
Let's see what you can do. Let's go.
Search We Can for ideas on how to get healthy together.
Arbors Carson Jewelers has been your community jeweler for over 110 years. We have the region's largest selection of diamonds, designer jewelry, including bridal, gold, and silver fashion jewelry, and fine Swiss timepieces. We strive to combine quality, expert personal attention, and affordable financing to create an exceptional shopping experience aimed at exceeding your expectations. At Carson's Jewelers, there's something for everyone that will bring a smile to that someone special in your life.
Hi, I am Dr. Olenzak at the Pain and Spine Institute. I specialize in the most advanced procedures and technology available in pain management. At your visits and procedures, you will always see me for continuity of care. I would like to thank all of my patients for allowing me to provide you with the specialized care that you need. To give you this level of care requires a team. This is your team at the Pain and Spine Institute. To become a patient, call 301-739-7900 or go to painfree-md.com.
I'm glad you're still with us. Kathy Campbell, the manager of bereavement services at Hospice Washington County, is fairly a regular guest on Healing, Hope, and Health. But that's because there's so many interesting and educational programs happening in her department. Today, Kathy joins us to talk about Camp Hope and Cope, the summer camp experience for children who have had a life-changing loss. Welcome back, Kathy. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. I understand you're hosting this special camp for children. Can you tell us about it, when it is, where it'll be held?
Sure. Camp Hope and Cope is a very special, very unique kind of camp. It's an overnight camp that will be held toward the end of August, and it's designed for children between the ages of 6 and 13 who have experienced a life loss, a significant death in their life, or another difficult life loss. And it's bringing the children together for an entire day into overnight and the following day. And it's an opportunity for them to be able to learn coping skills, to be able to process through the death or the loss that they've had, to be able to be around other people who have also experienced loss and not feel so alone. Mm-hmm. And for each child that comes, we pair them up in advance with an adult who acts as what we call a big buddy to that child. And it's someone who goes through our training, to learn a little bit about what to expect with these kids and how to respond to them. We're not looking for experienced counselors. We're not looking for anything other than adults who can be a friend to the child and who can listen to them, process with them, play with them, just have a really good experience with them. The entire camp experience is designed so that not only are we doing therapeutic activities with the children and trying to teach them how to heal in the best way, but it's all incorporated with a lot of play. We know that is how children typically do their processing the best. It's not as common, although there are some kids who do sit down face to face as we do as adults and can talk about their feelings and process something so difficult. Most times it doesn't happen that way, and we find that in a much more indirect way, oftentimes through play, is when children really come into their own and can become comfortable enough to share and find ways to release that negative energy associated with loss.
Yeah, that's great. So is there a time frame that these kids should have experienced this loss to qualify for the camp? Is it just for the past year?
That's a great question, and the answer is no. There might be a child, for example, who had a death, say 5 years ago. And for many people, they think, well, that was 5 years ago, the child has moved on, everything is okay, they don't need that camp. And actually, we find that there is no amount of time that is too much that can go by where a child would still not benefit. Partly because the whole idea is to teach very, very healthy coping. But also because what we know about children is that as they go through each developmental phase of their life, they are reprocessing this grief all over again. So where a child is and processes as a 6-year-old, for example, is very different than where he or she will be when they are 7, 8, 9. So I think the camp and the teaching that can happen at the camp is beneficial at any time. And oftentimes, too, there are many people who mistakenly think that a child has to be exhibiting complicated grief issues to be able to...
problems.
Right. Or extreme anger, or just really breaking down and crying to be able to benefit from this camp. And the idea is that we don't want there to be complications down the road, so we want to intervene early enough that we can teach this healthy coping so that that doesn't happen.
That's great. So where will this camp be held, and what are the dates?
The camp is going to be August 22nd to the 23rd. We will actually meet on the Saturday morning of camp at our hospice office on Northern Avenue and take a bus to the camp center, which is the Mount Etna Retreat Center. We'll stay for the overnight and into the following morning, bring buses back to the hospice office for the children to be picked up.
Okay, and very quickly, what are the next steps? How does a parent register a child, and how would an adult who's interested in volunteering do that?
Anybody who has any questions about the entire camp experience can either call us for more information, or if they're interested in obtaining an application, they can call us, or they can even go online and download that from our website. Now, we do have some trainings coming up that will be held for the adults who will come as volunteers, and we also have a meeting designed for the parents and the children before camp to give them an idea of what to expect and to get to know them a little bit better. So we've got some things coming up prior to that actual date of the camp, and we invite people to check out that information.
Well, great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Henry Wadsworth said, "There's no grief like the grief that does not speak." I'm grateful that through Camp Hope and Cope, Hospice Washington County provides a safe environment for children to speak their grief and share their feelings. Campers will undoubtedly have lots of fun, but they will also learn that they are not alone, that there are other children who truly understand loss, and that there are caring adults willing to support them. If you would like more information about camp, or would like to register a child or sign up as a volunteer, call Hospice Washington County at 301-791-6360. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break.
People don't realize it takes a lot to care for a family member in your home. John's dad was very headstrong, so I think that was a lot for him to get over and try to come to terms with that he had terminal illness. I would recommend everybody to get hospice involved at the get-go. When you first learn about it, get it set up. it's going to make it, I mean, it's terrible what you're going through already, but it's going to make it easier for you in the long run because we couldn't have done it without them.
Call Hospice today. Hospice of Washington County, when time matters most.
From the smallest item of jewelry to the largest ceramic elephant, every 10,000 Villages handcrafted product makes a remarkable journey.
All over the world, our products travel similar paths, over thousands of miles and years of artistic tradition. Our handcrafted gifts represent work that builds villages and sustains souls. They are the dream of a better life made real. Every product is a miracle.
Welcome back to Healing, Hope, and Health. Most people know that Hospice of Washington County focuses on providing the highest quality of life to patients nearing the end of life and to their family members. Our next guest, Pam and Jim Niesner, say that from their experience of losing their son Max, they have come to the conclusion that hospice is there just as much to support the living. Pam and Jim join us today to tell us about their son Max and share what they have learned about themselves and the world in the past year. Welcome, Pam. Welcome, Jim.
Welcome.
Thank you for being here. So I just wanted to give you a little chance both to talk about Max, what it is that you want to say about him.
Max had an enormous personality. He had the biggest heart, and he was so big about everything he encountered. Mm-hmm. He was passionate about protecting people, mm-hmm. passionate about his faith, passionate about his family. One time he came home from going to school and he said he had protected a girl on a bus ride home. And I thought he was just being exaggerating. Yeah. And then after his death, at the viewing, a young lady came in. She came in before the hours of the viewing and said that she was the person that he had protected on that bus. Mm. And she stayed for 5 hours at the viewing.
So that meant a lot.
It meant a lot. Yeah. It meant a lot.
So what have you learned about about grief through his suicide and in this past year?
We've learned that it takes many forms.
Mm-hmm.
One of us may be a little more up while another one's down. Mm-hmm. It is the roller coaster that you always hear about. Mm-hmm. It's difficult.
Right. And do you experience grief in the same way, or is that different? And is that another way of another difficulty coming over to mesh the two kinds of styles of dealing with grief?
We are very different people.
Mm-hmm.
Our personalities are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing we learned from going to support at hospice is that it's okay. It's okay that we grieve very differently.
Mm-hmm.
But our mantra has been to respect the other person's way of grieving.
Mm-hmm.
We were taught that sentence the very first session, mm-hmm. and we have maintained it during this bereavement period.
Mm-hmm. And how about when Max died, how did that affect your family? You have other children. I imagine you also had to grieve as a family unit.
We did, and that has been part of the struggle. You have to go on. You know, we have to
mm-hmm.
be brave for them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everyone was a little bit different. Sometimes someone might not want to talk about it at all, while another does.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very dynamic, a lot of moving parts to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strange process.
Mm-hmm. And Pam, you had mentioned to me earlier about you had to come to grips with whether you would stay or in your home or move.
Yes. In fact, we decided as a family we actually put it up to vote with the surviving members of the family, and we decided as a family unit to stay in the house in which he had committed suicide, because we viewed it as he wanted to die in that house, as so many other people choose to die from cancer in their home, choose to die from other illnesses in their home. He loved that house and he chose to die there. And we were able to struggle through the determination to stay in that home.
That's great. And I know that one of the things that you said to me that was that there was this belief that you wanted people to know that you're not ashamed of Max, and that you, do you care to talk to that?
We are not ashamed of him. Suicide is not a word people are comfortable with, but he has never made us ashamed. In fact, he clearly had psychiatric problems, and that was the plunge.
Right. He was ill.
He was ill,
That's
right.
absolutely.
Right.
And
we've never looked at it otherwise than that.
And you had certainly had sought treatment for him.
Yes.
That's
Right. So to me, it's similar to other families where they've sought treatment and a family member has still passed away.
Right.
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 Well, I just wanted to give you one last thing. You have said, both of you, that one of the things that gives you comfort is to support and help others. Do you care to talk about that?
This was some of the best advice we got, and among the first advice we got, that we could start this this fund to help other people, and that's been a way to direct our grief and feelings and to put it to some kind of purpose.
And what is the name of the fund?
Okay.
The Maxwell Niesner Fund for Prevention of Suicide. And it's at the Community Foundation of Washington County, and it was at one point the most visited site at the Community Foundation, and I'm so glad. Those were young people from his high school looking at it and searching for answers.
Well, thank you both so much for being here and sharing a little bit about Max, and also your journey through grief and into making a positive out of that grief. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Pam and Jim for telling Max's story and sharing their hard-earned words of wisdom. Pam and Jim are incredibly strong people, one who knows of life's great sorrows, but also know, at least for them, these sorrows are best dealt with honestly and with a forthright attitude. I appreciate Pam and Jim's willingness to talk openly about their son's suicide and their own grief journey and their desire to make something positive from their tragic loss. I'm also grateful to the bereavement team at Hospice of Washington County for all they do to support those who are grieving. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break.
Arbors Carson Jewelers has been your community jeweler for over 110 years. We have the region's largest selection of diamonds, designer jewelry, including bridal, gold, and silver fashion jewelry, and fine Swiss timepieces. We strive to combine quality, expert personal attention, and affordable financing to create an exceptional shopping experience aimed at exceeding your expectations. At Carson's Jewelers, there's something for everyone that will bring a smile to that someone special in your life.
I'm the hometown favorite.
I'll outsmart you.
I will beat you.
I'll be surrounded by fans cheering me on.
There's no place like home for fighting cancer.
My turf.
My time.
My team.
Expert care, close to home. The John R. Marsh Cancer Center at Meritus Health.
People don't realize it takes a lot to care for a family member in your home. John's dad was very headstrong, so I think that was a lot for him to get over and try to come to terms with that he had terminal illness. I would recommend everybody to get hospice involved at the get-go. When you first learn about it, get it set up. It's going to make it, I mean, it's terrible what you're going through already, but it's going to make it easier for you in the long run, because we couldn't have done it without them.
Call Hospice today. Hospice of Washington County, when time matters most.
Welcome back. It is my pleasure to introduce my next guest, Aida Lazo. Aida is passionate about helping others and first became involved with Hospice of Washington County as an intern while pursuing her Bachelor of Arts degree in social work from Salisbury University. Once she completed her undergraduate degree, Aida, who is a proud mother of 5 children, chose to continue her affiliation with hospice as a volunteer. In that capacity, she translated almost all of the HWC's informational brochures into Spanish, helped plan the Hispanic Outreach Symposium, and served as an interpreter during that event. Her help has been invaluable to the organization, and I'm so glad that she could join us today. Hi, Aida.
Hi.
So grateful that you could be here. So for over a year, you were both an intern and a volunteer extraordinaire at hospice, and now you've recently started a new venture in your life.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Our church, Iglesia de Dios Jesús Pan de Vida, just bought a building, and we just opened up a community center called Centro Comunitario Jesús Pan de Vida.
And what is the purpose of the community center?
The purpose is to help the Hispanic community with translations, we connect people with the services in Washington County. We also have a food pantry, and just provide information in general.
That's great. Well, I'm sure that you're making the same kind of difference there that you have for hospice. Can you tell us first a little bit about your experience as an intern at Hospice of Washington County, what you learned there, and how did that affect your desire to make other services known in the community?
Well, my experience was very rewarding. I learned on the importance of hospice care when someone is dying, and how vital it is for the people at hospice are providing a very vital service to the people and the family also.
Not just the patient.
Not just
right.
the patient,
right.
but the family. For example, the 11th hour, people are dying by themselves. They don't have nobody to be there by their side. So.
And that program is actually volunteers who step in
Yes.
and be part of the 11th hour program. Yeah. And how important is it for you to share that information with the Hispanic community? I know you worked really hard on the Hispanic outreach program we did.
It is important because hospice, when you translate the word hospice, it has a different meaning. Hospice is a place where people go and if they need help, they feed the hungry, and so it has a different meaning than hospice here. So it is important for them to know what hospice is. So when they do need the service, they know where to go and get the service.
Right. It translates more for care for the destitute, right?
Yes.
And it's important that they know that this is medical care, spiritual care, and it's available to anybody and everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. You've helped Hospice of Washington County with the translating of pamphlets and educational materials. Do you think that that message is getting out to the Hispanic community? What are the stumbling blocks that are still impeding them from accessing our services? What could we do differently?
I think one major obstacle is language. Because they always ask, do they have people who speak Spanish? And I always say no.
So maybe we should recruit some Spanish volunteers, bilingual volunteers.
Yes.
Well, Aida, thank you so much for all you have done for hospice, and very good luck to you and your church members in your new adventure. I'm so glad you were here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'd like to thank Aida for being on today's program and all she has done to support Hospice of Washington County and all she continues to do to support our community. Hospice of Washington County strives to meet the needs of all members of our community, and its services are provided to all regardless of diagnosis, age, race, immigration status, sex, religion, sexual orientation, or ability to pay. If you or someone you know needs hospice care, please call Hospice of Washington County. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.